Hey, what's up guys? Red Bishop of the Press A to Listen podcast here, and welcome to another video review. As you can tell from the title of this is for Nutjitsu from Ninja B Games, the makers of A World of Keflings and A Kingdom for Keflings on the Xbox 360. One of the first things you might notice about Nutjitsu is the border around it, and the fact that some of the menu options itself look like they're straight out of a mobile game. That's because originally it was designed for Windows 8 and tablets, and Ninja B decided to bring it over to give more people the chance to play it. And now getting into the gameplay itself is very simplistic Pac-Man style gameplay, but instead of you running around collecting power pellets and moving on to the next map or the next mission, you are collecting acorns. Since you are a squirrel, you do play as a ninja squirrel, as they say in the game. And those missions that you complete vary. There are some for just collecting X amount of acorns. Collect 15 acorns, you move on. There are some for stay in a certain area of the map for 30 or 45 seconds, and once you do that, you move on. And then there are some for deliver X amount of acorns. So deliver 15 or 20 acorns to this specific spot in the map, and then you can progress on to the next mission. That's all that the game is about. There's these missions that just keep going and going and going. There's no actual end game. There's no story. There's nothing like that. Once you complete one mission, you move on to the next one. Each mission also has 5 difficulty levels. So the first difficulty level is obviously the easiest one, that might require you to only collect 10 or 15 acorns. You move on, the next one might be 20 or 25. And then the top one might be you need to collect 60 acorns. And each time you collect acorns, you get points. And after you get to a certain point in the level, a certain amount of points, another squirrel or an enemy will respawn. Some of the enemies are they just walk around the map. Some of them will run across the map, so it's obviously more difficult to get away from them. There are some that have acid stains that tread behind them, so if you get too close to them behind them, it will then that acid will then slow you down, and you won't be able to move as fast to get those acorns to move on to the next mission. Now the game does have different maps, so even though you're doing some of those same missions over and over again, they try to mix it up a little bit with 15 different maps, and you unlock these maps by ranking up, and there are a total of 25 ranks. And at first, when you first start out playing the game, you realize that you're ranking up relatively fast, but if you keep just advancing from one mission to the next, from one mission to the next, there'll come a point in time where, like any game with any ranks, any levels, you hit a certain wall that it just almost is impossible to keep ranking up without doing a specific tactic that they have in the game. And that tactic is, if you keep retrying the same mission over and over and over again, you will constantly get more and more XP for doing that same mission. The upside of that is you rank up a whole lot faster because you're getting more XP. The downside is you're playing the same map and the same mission over and over and over again, which becomes obviously repetitive, becomes monotonous, and it becomes a certain way you don't want to play that game. You want to move on, you want to play different maps, you want to play different missions, but you hit that wall where you just can't really rank up anymore, and you have that decision. Do you want to keep playing the same map, or do you want to move on? Power-ups are another feature that are in the game that you also unlock, much like the maps, by ranking up. You have the smoke bomb, which when used, the enemies cannot see you. So you can, if you're trapped in a corner with one enemy coming from one direction, the other enemy coming from another direction, and they're pinching you, you can use a smoke bomb and go right past them. There's another one called Ninja Speed that, like the name, allows you to move really, really fast. So you can go from, if you need to get to one corner real quick to deliver these acorns, boom, you can do it, and you're there almost instantly. Another one is a freeze bomb, which will freeze every enemy on the map. So whether there's 4 enemies, there's 10 enemies. You use the freeze bomb, it will automatically freeze them for about 5 or 6 seconds, and you can move on and get out of the tight predicament that you're in. And there are other power-ups that you unlock later on after ranking up, but those 3 are kind of the ones you will use probably the most because they're the quickest, they're the cheapest to buy, and they seem to be the most effective of all the power-ups. Along with the power-ups are upgrades. So with the upgrades, you can add an extra loadout slot, which allows you to carry. You start out with only carrying 2 upgrades at a time. So you can only carry, let's say, the smoke bomb and the ninja speed. If you upgrade the loadout slot, you can then carry 3. So you can carry the smoke bomb, the ninja speed, and the freeze bomb all at once. So that's an upgrade. Another upgrade is the ability to allow you to carry more power-ups. So you start out by only being able to carry 3 smoke bombs, 3 ninja speeds, and 3 freeze bombs. You upgrade that, you can then carry 4 or 5 or 6 and so on and so forth until you max out that upgrade. And when you spend points with these upgrades that you get by completing missions, if you obviously, even if you fail, if you don't succeed with a mission, you still get points. You don't get obviously as many, but you get points that you can use to buy these upgrades. You can use to buy these power-ups that can be used in the mission mode or the survival mode. Now, one of the coolest things about Nutjitsu is the fact that it's used more as an app than a game. And what that means is with most games on the Xbox One, you can only start one at a time. So you can't start, let's say, Titanfall and then try to start Battlefield 4. It will then close Titanfall. With Nutjitsu, you can start Titanfall, and then in between matches, because we all know Titanfall takes about 90 seconds in between matches to go to the next map, you can switch over to Nutjitsu and play a couple of rounds. Since Nutjitsu does not take that long to complete each mission, you can switch over to it. So it's the first kind of game that's used more as an app than a game. So it can snap it over to the side, say, oh, well, this Titanfall match is over with. I got about 90 seconds to waste. Go over to Nutjitsu. Play with 90 seconds. You can probably do 2 to 3 rounds maybe of the game. When you're done with that, switch right over back to Titanfall and you're good to go. So I think that's actually the coolest feature of the game itself, because the gameplay, as I mentioned earlier, with the simplistic Pac-Man style that it has, is pretty fun to play for, I would say, the first 30 to 45 minutes. After that, much like any mobile or tablet game to me, the gameplay gets a little bit boring and a little bit tedious, because you're just going through the motions there over and over again. It's the same mission types, it's the same maps, because, you know, like I mentioned earlier with ranking up, it just becomes not fun anymore. And for $6.49, you would say, oh, well, that's a pretty good price for it. But then you come back, and if you look it up on Windows 8 and the tablets, the game was originally free. It was $0. So you're paying $6.50 for a very Pac-Man style-esque gameplay that ultimately just ends up being a real shallow experience. And I'm disappointed in that, because Ninja B with A World of Keflings and A Kingdom for Keflings are two of my favorite XBLA games from the Xbox 360. And I expected their first foray onto Xbox One to be more than just a tablet game that tried to mimic Pac-Man, and that ultimately is just not very good. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video review, and thanks very much.